Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, this is Global Morning Weekend Edition. Today on the program, we will be looking at economic realities in our country, Nigeria, and identifying local opportunities for national prosperity, especially in the wake of us as a people celebrating 27 years of unbroken rule. That's our democracy. We've done 27 years so far. And some Nigerians keep complaining that we do not have enough opportunities in the country. We've seen a lot of persons leave. What does this mean for us? I have joining us this morning, Captain Caleb Danladi. He is a philanthropist, and he is also the founder of the Caleb Danladi Foundation. Thank you so much, Captain, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning.
All right, so today I still here as we do this together. All right, so let's talk about 27 years after return to democracy. Do we have opportunities for Nigerians to exploit and make out a good life for themselves?
Okay, thank you very much for this important question. And I want to wish all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day. So we have 27 years of unbroken democracy from when there was a transition of power in 1999. And you have to look at it at a crossroads, both the positive and also some of the challenges that we are passing. So one of the positive aspects of democracy has to do with freedom of joining political party of your choice, which is very important, that you have the right to join, to choose any political party of your choice. The citizens also have the right to vote whoever they wish to vote. That is why there has been a growing awareness about the importance of getting their permanent voters card to vote the candidate of their choice, which is very important. Another aspect of democracy have to do with there has been an unbroken transition of power, which is very important, which makes this country to be stable. Stability is very important because it gives investors the confidence, and it also sends signal to the international community. Another aspect we have to look into when we talk about democracy is because the democracy is a government of the people, by the people and for the people. So you also have to look at the freedom when it comes to the use of social media, where people can be able to express themselves compared to the military rule. So that's very important and crucial. People have to express themselves. You have the right, to criticize someone, when he's not doing the right thing, which is crucial. Let's also look at the growing awareness about democracy when it comes to political parties. So a lot of citizens have become more aware about political parties. They have become more aware about their powers to vote. They have also become more aware about democracy, which is very important. And there has also been increase in institutional awareness, like in the National Assembly. Citizens are beginning to understand that they have representatives at the National Assembly and different institutions, the State House of Assembly. However, despite these achievements, there are still some issues that we cannot shy away from. It has to do with the insecurity issues today, even though the government are working hard, but a lot need to be done when it comes to insecurity. We have people who have been kidnapped, they are all there, and my sympathy goes to most of the families today. So it's really a sad situation. Then we also have issues of, even though during the democracy there has been significant reforms when it comes to infrastructure. So in the past 27 years, there have been development in infrastructures. There have been reforms such as the telecom infrastructure, the port reforms, the growing emphasis when you talk about the marine and blue economy today. There are a lot of significant changes, that has happened. So one of the challenges also we have to look at is inadequate infrastructure in some certain areas. If you look at the urban areas today and the rural areas, there's unevenness. It's not even. Even when it comes to the healthcare sector, while the urban areas have the advantage, some of the rural areas are lagging behind. If you also look at the connectivity today into telecoms, most of the rural areas are also lagging behind. So those are the areas we also have to look into, which is very, very important. And then we can't shy away from poverty, so even though there have been efforts to address poverty through the household conditional cash transfer, but we also need to do more to address the issue of poverty in our society today. And then, even though there has been growing emphasis on digitalization, which is one of the good dividends of democracy today we are seeing, because there has been growing emphasis on digitalization. However, there are challenges that comes with digitalization. We have to look into the cyber crime today, which has become a major challenge in our society, which is one thing that we also have to address. When it comes to education, I know the government has done a lot of effort in terms of UBEC, providing free access to education at primary level. Also, when we talk about school feeding, the Renew Hope agenda. However, the educational sectors, particularly STEM for students in the countries and this technology, engineering, mathematics, is not even. While students in the urban areas have the advantage of robotic bootcamp and also different incubation centers, students in the rural areas are lagging behind due to lack of infrastructure, lack of power. So there's a bit of inequality. Exactly. So there has been renewed effort from the non-governmental organization to address this issue, and also from the government. So if you also look at the healthcare system, also there's a need to address some healthcare challenges also in the rural areas, most especially that don't have access. So in some areas that they don't have good road networks, it's a serious issue when a woman falls ill or when a woman is pregnant at night and you need to take her to the hospital, so which is important. So overall, we also have to appreciate the heroes of democracy, which is very important, those who fought for this democracy today, because whatever benefit we are enjoying today, someone in the past has actually sacrificed his life, sacrificed his time. A lot of them were in prison. We look at the Chief Ghani, and a lot of them, that have sacrificed their life for democracy to thrive.
Thank you so much for that explanation. But Nigeria's faced a lot of challenges that you mentioned. In all of this, do you see that there's been opportunities in Nigeria, or there are emerging opportunities in Nigeria?
Okay, for the opportunities, it depends on the type of opportunities. Is it the job opportunity? Is it the educational opportunity? Is it the opportunity when it comes to skills? So it all depends. However, if you look at the population of Nigeria, more than 70% of Nigerian population are below the age of 25. So we have a large demographic of youthful population, which is a huge blessing. It simply means that if we are able to utilize this population, if we are going to leverage on the youthful population, I strongly believe that we are going to achieve most of our goals. But most important thing, we have to look into the opportunity that exists. However, before you look into the opportunity that exists, the first thing you have to look at is the challenges. What are the challenges today in the country? Like I mentioned, poverty, insecurity, lack of opportunities, unequal opportunities. You also have to look critically into a high number of youths that have graduated from universities without something doing. So if you are able to identify most of these challenges, then you have to come up with proposed solutions on how to address most of these challenges. So if you look at the unemployment today, how do you address the issue of unemployment? Because practically there's limitation on how many people the government can absorb or the private sector can absorb. Looking at our population, we have a large population of people, which I strongly believe that the government also need to create employment opportunities for them. But that being said, we also have to look deep into some of the opportunities that exist. What are some of the opportunities? There are opportunities that exist in the agricultural sector. which is very, very important. So we also need to look into the agricultural sector. And then
are young people taking that opportunity?
Of course, there are a lot of young people in Nigeria today. They are really successful in agriculture. A lot. I have met a lot of extremely brilliant Nigerians who has even guided me on how to set up farms. You know, we have seen successful Nigerians, young Nigerians, both males and females, when it comes to agriculture. So they are doing reasonably well. And it's not only about agriculture, but they have been sole employers of labor.
But what we hear is that Nigerians do not like farming, or the young people. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true to some extent. But then we're talking about, we have technology. So what we call technology. Yeah. So we have those that go to farm using the technology method. And we have those that prefer going to farm like our normal way of farming. Now, most of our youth now don't want to go to farm using the old method, the normal method we're used to. That's because we have we've developed now. We've improved. There's technology, so they prefer farming with technology. Because I could recall we had a guest on this show on Saturday, I think, that spoke about AI, giving AI command about farming.
So you stay in the comfort of your room. I see what you are saying. Go on,
I totally agree with her when it comes to traditional farming. Let's go to the reality. The world has moved forward. You know, the way we used to farm in the late 70s and the early 80s and maybe the late 80s and the early 90s is totally different. We strongly depend on labor. It's mostly on labor intensive, manual labor. You hire about 10, 15, 20 men to go and farm, which is quite labor intensive. You look at the stress and then how many hectares are they going to farm. But today, with development, innovation, industrialization, a large scale of farm or 11 hectares of farm can be farmed with a couple of tractors within a short period of time. So the world has moved on beyond the traditional way of doing things. Even though we still need to learn from the traditional farmers, there are things we need to learn. For instance, the traditional farmer understands the weather pattern in that area. So he will be able to explain to you. He understands the type of crops that grow in that area. He understands the environmental degradation in that area. He also understands the type of diseases that affects most of the crops in that area. So you have to leverage also on the local expertise, which is important. While we are advancing through digitalization, you cannot shy away from the local expertise. Let me give you an example. In the coastal regions today, a lot of coastal regions are passing through a lot of challenges, and one of the challenges is erosion. So people that live in the coastal areas, they understand those challenges, and some of them, if you want to address those challenges first, you have to work with them. They have to have the sense of ownership. Why? You have to distribute seed for them to be able to plant mangroves. Mangroves are very important in addressing most of this environmental degradation. So what I'm trying to say is the sense of ownership is very important, especially in the traditional farming. But a lot of our youthful population today, they have moved beyond the traditional farming. They have moved into the more mechanized farming. If you go into most of the programs, I was opportune to attend a program that was organized by ECOWAS, Forum for Innovation for Science and Technology in Africa. And we have extremely brilliant Nigerians that came to make their presentation on how they are able to use artificial intelligence, they are able to use drones to monitor pest in farms. They are able to use drones, to be able to monitor how fertilizer is improving in the farm, which is very important. So we also have to leverage on their knowledge. We have to leverage on the traditional one and also on the modern one. With that one, we'll be able to develop more. So beyond farming, also, while Nigerians are doing well in farming, you need the skills. It's not everybody that will go into farm and succeed.
We'll come to skills. I just like that we I'll finish up with the farming aspect.
Okay, then let's also look at another area now that opportunity exists. We talk about digitalization today and globalization. So opportunity exists when it comes to information technology, ITC. It's very important today. There's a growing emphasis on AI. You know, people are creating new apps. Today you can sit in your house and quickly order cooking gas through the app. Today you can sit in your house and transfer money. We have a growing emphasis on fintech today. We have Nigerians that have produced brilliant apps. Flutterwave is there. So that shows you that Nigerian youths are innovative. Nigerian youths are hardworking. It's only the few pocket of youths today that you find them in cybercrime.
Yeah.
You know, in every organization you have those few pocket of people, but you don't generalize. What I know about Nigerian youth, they are hardworking, they are innovating. Anywhere a Nigerian goes to, he excels. Go to the global academic standard, you will find out that most of the best students today are Nigerians. You know, most of the research, most of the breakthrough in research today are Nigerians. If you look at in the past, we had the issue of sleeping, this tsetse when people are sleeping sickness. Who was the person that broke this in Nigerian? The late Professor Nok. So you can see how Nigerians, you know, are doing extremely well. So in the ITC, Nigerians are doing well. Opportunity exists there. There are also opportunities that also exist in digital marketing.
So I'll come to that. Let's finish with agriculture, and maybe we talk about the ICT that we'll look at the opportunities that are there.
But wait, sorry for cutting you short. You talk about the development in AI and other stuff, right? Don't you know, whatever has advantage also has its disadvantage. So don't you think the AI or the new the development now has its own side effects?
Definitely, there are side effects of development. For instance, now if you look at the creation of most of these apps, so instead of you to practically transport yourself using a public transport to go and buy cooking gas, you can just sit down there and order it. What does that mean? It simply means that the money you are supposed to spend, you know, on local transport, which the local KK person is making, is not there, right? However, we need to devise means of innovation. As the world is changing, the local KK driver should also innovate. He has to look for means of innovation. The AIs are not going to completely cut off jobs, but we need to look at the alternative ways of doing things. We need to look at alternative livelihoods. I'll also take you back to the coastal communities today where there has been issues of environmental degradation. And most of the coastal communities today have to look for alternative means of livelihood beyond fishing, which is very important. So as we are having this evolving of AI is here, AI has come to stay. That's the truth. Now, we have to look at alternatives. We have to start to develop ourselves. We have mentioned about agriculture.
Yeah.
If you are farming today, it's not going to change. But if you are a person that has been so analog and you are so laid back, you are still going to remain analog. Let's take, for example, you know the Kodak film before, where we used to snap pictures. Today, you don't have negative film anymore. With your simple mobile device, you can be able to snap picture. But Kodak is not in the market anymore. The Nokia today, 3310, that was a top of the day before, today is not there. Why? Because they failed to innovate. So if you fail to innovate, you stand a chance to lose, which is very important. Those are the, I won't say the negative side, but you still need to keep inventing. You still need to keep innovating, look at alternative ways. However, when we talk about AI, there are also bad sides. That's why I mentioned about the cyber crime, a lot of cyber breach, data breaches. So that is why a lot of companies are working hard when it comes to cyber security to be able to address this. And it's very important because we cannot shy away that there are no negative aspect of it. So the cyber crime is there. We also have chances that some jobs, will be cut off. However, those people have to devise a means of innovation, developing themselves so that they will become relevant. If you don't develop yourself, there's no way you will be relevant. So it's very important.
Right, so let me just add here, concerning we talked about farming opportunities where Nigerian youths can find opportunities. But if you look at the data, it's quite disturbing because a data said 70% of Nigerians, or some would say 60, are into farming. But we, as still ranked as a food poor nation, a nation that cannot completely feed its own. We do a lot of importation as to simple everyday things. For instance, since the borders were open, rice, a lot of Nigerians import rice, and these are things that can grow in our soil, and we are not. So when we say we've taken advantage of it, but if you look at the US, for instance, only 3% of the population is into farming, but they have the food bank that can sustain them for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So why do we have this disparity? Is it as a lack of funding or lack of access to farm implements? And why are we not producing in capacity that can take care of our local needs?
Okay, you have asked a very important question. So data is a very serious problem in the country today. So if you like you mentioned, some will say 60%, some will say 10%. We don't have actually accurate data sometimes, but thanks to the Nigerian Statistics Bureau that has been keeping data for us. However, when we talk about farming, most of the farming today that you mentioned, if your statistics are right, permit me to say because I'm not sure about the statistics. If your statistics are right, then definitely they are on the smaller scale. Right. Yeah, somebody like now I can go if I live in an area where there is land, maybe a 400 square meter, and I plant maize, people will say I'm a farmer, right? You live in a small space like this studio and you plant granite, people will assume you are a farmer because we are farming on a smaller scale. That 400 square meter, by the time you harvest it, is not going to be sufficient for you to even feed yourself for a month. So we have to look at what is farming. Are we doing a large-scale farming or are we doing just a small farming? That is one thing you also need to look into. You also need to look into the skills. Even if you are doing a large-scale farming, do you actually have the skills and the technical know-how? When it comes to crop farming, do you understand if you are keeping animals farming, are you into the ruminant animals or you are into the birds animals? So you have to look into that. If you are into the birds and you understand that when a small outbreak happens, you lose thousands of birds. But when you are into the ruminant animals, the risk might be low. So you also need a technical expertise. This technical expertise is not something that you just wake up today, you being a teacher or you being working as an engineer and you want to start farming. You have to understand the technicalities that are involved. You have to understand the type of soil. You have to understand how to even put fertilizers, because sometimes you might farm and you don't even know how to put fertilizer, and that might result also in you losing most of those crops. You also have to understand the seasonal changes. Now there has been growing emphasis about climate change. Now if you are farming in a particular area, you have to understand the weather pattern in that area. The weather pattern in Kano is different from weather pattern in Port Harcourt. The crops that will that will excel in Kano are totally different than the one that will be more vibrant in Port Harcourt. So you have to look at the different areas. The demography also play a crucial role. The type of soil, also the fertilizer, the technical knowledge. Now we also have issues with security. You mentioned about the 60% of population, but most of those population also don't go to farm because of the insecurity. So if they don't go to farm, but you have them as farmers, and at the end of the year they produce nothing, it simply means that nothing is being done. So, but if you are talking about the US today, most of the farmers you talk about, the 3%, are large-scale farmers that are farming hectares using mechanized farming. How many Nigerians today are using mechanized farming? If you look at our population, we have about 200 million people. So you mentioned about 60%, which I'm not sure about their data. If 60% are into farming, how many are into large-scale farming? You look at Abuja now, you can practically name major farms. So when we talk about farming, skills is very, very important. The knowledge is very important. You have to have the technical skills also, and also the soft skills, because technical skills is not enough. soft skills are very, very crucial. It has
To
to
help
do
you
with
with the sales and
teamwork, marketing,
we are saying-
how to deal with your workers, because some people can also produce, a large harvest, but because they don't understand how to deal with their workers, most of those harvests will be stolen because you don't have mechanism in place to prevent theft, which is very important. So farming is not as simple as we think. It requires a lot of technical know-how. It requires studies. You need to study the market before you go into it. There is no point of you farming maize and there's no market for maize. So when we talk about farming, it's very important for you to conduct your need assessment.
Right,
And
so-
you also, you have a visibility study.
Right, so let me allow Sadia coming, but before she comes in, you just mentioned something, and somebody was telling me just last night of she took a produce to somewhere to keep. Somebody's, this is like a place they people gather things, like a
Like
store,
warehouse.
yeah. So she said, by the time she went back, she was just like a 50 kg. She now saw 2 mudu. So she doesn't know what to do from there.
Let her just pick the 2 modules and go use it. That's her luck.
At least they remain to remove.
At least the person was pathetic enough to leave behind 2 modules for her.
Go ahead, Sadia.
So if you spoke about road,
Yes.
how if a pregnant woman today was to go to the hospital and because of that bad road, we might lose her in that course. All right. So what role do you think the government can play to stop that? Like, if not reduce 100%, let it just reduce.
Okay, so that's a very important question. Like when I mentioned, one of the dividends of democracy is about the expansion in infrastructure, which I also have to congratulate the country, because if you look at it, there has been ongoing construction when it comes to road infrastructure. If you also look at FCT today, communities that don't have access to road networks now have access to road networks, because I run a charity organization. Before, for you to get access to KT community is difficult, but today is all tied to KT community, which is very important. And if you look at the coastal roads that are being built for economic development are good. Now, back to your question regarding the issue of pregnant women, which is very important.
That's the health sector.
The health sector is very, very important and it's very crucial. I had some group of young men that visited me, and part of the challenges they face in that particular community is because there is no chemist. And that community, for you to get to the major road by bike, it takes you close to 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So I now ask them, so how do you deal with issue of health challenges, especially at night? So they say they have young people there who can ride bikes. And then when a child is sick, or when the woman is pregnant, or when she's sick, they have to move them by bikes to the nearby village. So like I mentioned about the infrastructural development, the infrastructural development has to also get to the grassroots. It's not only going to be limited to modern cities and urban areas, but there's also different hierarchy of powers. There are roads that are state roads, there are roads that are federal roads, and also there are roads that are also local government roads. So I strongly believe that we don't just blame power at one particular level, because everybody, even the local House of Reps, the House of Assembly member, the councillor has his role to play. So the House of Reps member also have his role to play. The community themselves must hold the elected leaders accountable.
But wait, before you push for that, can you hold your leader accountable?
Of course.
And do you think he will respond to you?
That is the power of democracy. I should be able to hold him. Then I have my PVC. That's important.
Don't you think at some point they might harass you, arrest you, lock you up?
It all depends.
Intimidate you.
It all depends on how you criticize people. It has to be constructive criticism, and it shouldn't be something that have to do with maybe cyberbullying or whatever it is. Or I should not go and you should not gather people to start stoning them. You have to have an engagement, one-on-one engagement, a civil engagement. Even though I know it's a difficult part, especially for those in the grassroots who don't have access to these people. But now, when we talk about the issue of health, it should be a national priority. So every woman, irrespective of her location, irrespective of her tribe, irrespective of her religious belief, should have equal access to healthcare system. Because if you look at it today, in my organization, we've been advocating and fighting for this issue of maternal mortality rate. And then that is what really prompted us to register about 700 women today into the Kaduna State Contributory Health Insurance Scheme. And I can say the health insurance scheme is working, because if a woman is pregnant today and the child breach, she's 100% certain that the CS will be covered under the Kaduna State Health Insurance Scheme. If a woman is pregnant today and she doesn't have access to funds to go to hospital, she's 100% sure that the health insurance scheme is going to cover that. We have successful story where traditional rulers have come to appreciate us based on the stories they receive from their community. But when it comes to moving a woman from a typical rural area to urban area, I think we need to do more when it comes to infrastructural development. It should be a national priority, because every life matters, which is very important today. If a woman is pregnant, sometimes because of the nature of those roads, the woman can even have miscarriage, or she can have a detached umbilical cord from the child, which can lead to fatality. So we have to prioritize infrastructure in whatever it is. But above all, security is very paramount and important. Because even if you have the infrastructure and the roads are not safe and you are taking a pregnant woman to the hospital, anything can happen. So, there are a lot of layers that we need to address.
All right, so I think because we are looking at identifying local opportunities for national prosperity, we've seen, you've mentioned very frankly, agriculture is an emerging and a consistent and enduring opportunity for Nigerians to key in and become prosperous, even as a country and individuals. And you've talked about ICT, also giving Nigerians that opportunity to grow up, to make ends meet and become prosperous. Which other opportunities do we have that can be accessed by even those in the rural communities?
Okay, a very important question that you asked. Beyond that, I think one of the areas that is about education, because education is a key. Education can unlock a lot of potentials in life. When you look at the number of out-of-school children today in the country, is alarming. And it's very important for us to bring back these children to classroom. 2 days ago, I was on a trip from Zaria to Abuja, and I stopped over. I saw a group of young people on the way. I stopped over and I talked to them. Why are they not going to school? There was no answer. And I asked them, are they willing to go back to school? They say yes. So, we need to sensitize these children about the importance of education. Because you can have all the skills, but if you have a large population of out-of-school children, they are a threat to the society. They have the chances of being lured into insecurity. They have the chances to go into drug abuse. They will become a liability. Instead of our youthful population to be assets, they will be liability to us. So education is very important. We need to look into how to bring back these children back to classroom. Another emerging area
education provides opportunities for people.
Education can unlock every opportunity for you in life. Every opportunity for you in life.
All right. But with the current insecurity issue now in Nigeria, let me once again use the latest Oyo school kidnap as an example. Do you think if those children are being released eventually, do you think they will still want to go back to school? Do you think their parents will allow them to go to school? Do you think the education sector has won over insecurity and other issues?
So it's a very dicey situation, because if you are in the hands of kidnappers, that's the only time you understand how difficult it is.
No, you don't say.
No, if one is in their hands, yes. So I strongly feel so pained that young children are there, considering this weather, And I must also commend the security agencies for the efforts that they are putting into, because they left their families and they are also there. Some of them will not even come back. So I really commend. For the children, I know a lot of them are passing through traumas, but eventually when people are released, before they are reintegrated back to the society, there are a lot of psychological evaluation, there are a lot of counseling. That is why we have a lot of counselors when it comes to mental health issues. It's very important. There is no problem that cannot be solved. So even though I think the mental health psychologists have a crucial role to play to be able to address most of these mental health issues, most of this psychological trauma, because it's not an easy thing. I have to be honest. You can only know the pain of losing someone only when you lost someone personally. If you go to when somebody dies, you go to, oh sorry about the loss, I'm really sorry. You don't understand the pain. So we are just speaking as people. We don't know what they are passing through. We don't know the trauma. But I really sympathize with them, and I pray that God will bring them back home safely.
Amen.
So,
all right. So we were talking about. I just asked. You wanted to mention other areas that we have opportunities.
yes. So while we talk about education, I think it's also very important for the education sector to be also be protected. If we have to address the issue of out-of-school children, every child deserves to be back to classroom. Every classroom also deserves to be protected. That's very important. Then education also goes beyond the normal classroom. You have to also look into skills. Degree today is not sufficient. You might have your degree, but if you have skills, it's going to take you to another level. That's why we have the technical and vocational education programs. TVET are all there. Skill acquisition is very, very important and very crucial, because we are talking about skills. Skills are also embedded in education. But we are talking about technicalities today. Most of the engineers that you see today, the mechanical engineers, is through education. This can be able to unlock potentials. Now, we also have to look, as we are addressing the issue of out-of-school children, we also need to sincerely address the issue of insecurity in the country. We must fight against insecurity, which is very important, so that this issue of adoption in classroom will become the theme of the past, so that students will have a convenient learning environment, which is very, very important. Now, let's also look at certain areas, like the issue of child labor. Child labor is a very, very serious issue. We are talking about unlocking potential, then we must address the issue of child labor. Children are meant to be in the classroom and not to be in the street hawking. No way. We also need to address the issue of early girl-child marriage. No girl should be married at an early age. You have to look at the consequences of marrying of a child at an early age. Number one, she is not psychologically, matured. She cannot think for herself. She cannot fend for herself. She has to depend on the so-called husband. Because I don't call them husband, because it's only somebody who cannot think properly that will marry the girl at an early age that is not matured. A normal, right-sensing human being will not marry a girl at that age. Now, because the girl is not mature enough, to carry babies. That is why we are having different kind of sicknesses for them today. So the issue of this early girl-child marriage should be the theme of the past. We have to end it, so that we'll have girls today that when they grow up, younger girl will see them as sources of inspiration. A girl that married at an early age, because she's not matured mentally, she doesn't even know when to take her children for vaccination. What will happen? Then the children will have a cycle of diseases that are supposed to be prevented, and they'll suffer for the rest of their life. Statistics shows that for every year the girl spends in the classroom, it increases her earning. So it's very important. Another aspect we have to look into today, and it's about STEM education. It's very, very important. We are talking about innovation, engineering, mathematics. We are talking about innovation, technology, but what is the backbone of it is STEM. You have to catch them young from the primary school level, which is very important today. At primary school level, You train them about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. By the time they get to secondary school level, they have started coding, and then by the time they get into tertiary institution, they already know what to do. So it's very, very important for us to address the issue of STEM, which is crucial to do.
So before we let you go, I'd like to ask, tell us about what your foundation has done to identify opportunities for Nigerians.
Okay, very important question. So our foundation, Caleb Danladi Foundation, we have done remarkably well. One of the major aspects we have done is before we implement any project, we conduct need assessment. So need assessment is going to guide us on the direction we are going to. So through our need assessment, we'll be able to identify that most of the youths in rural areas are not digitally literate.
So they have phones.
You can have phone today to use phone, but you are not digitally literate.
Yes.
You understand? Because, for instance, now some of them can use mobile device, but when it comes to JAMB examination that is computer based, they also don't know how to navigate the computer. So computer and mobile device are two different things. Mobile device is meant to make call, receive call, and you might have social media, Facebook you are using. Using computer is totally different. Having the basic knowledge of how to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint is totally different from using mobile phones. So we train them on digital literacy because we identify that the world is moving through digitalization. Now JAMB is computer based. And we find out that some of the students in rural areas fail JAMB is not because they are not educated, but simply because they cannot navigate the computer.
So they fail JAMB because they don't know how to.
I have one of the resource person. He told me that some of them, they know the answer, but you don't know how to navigate.
Right.
Because it's very important for you to know how to use the computer, to navigate the computer. And we have seen improvement from when we started training them. We have small computer where they come to learn, and they can use computers now. And we want to expand it to other rural areas, which is important. Another emphasis is about this child labor and illegal child marriage. We have engaged traditional rulers, community leaders, and I can say that we are making progress.
So what of those that are already married?
Well, those that are already married, what we do is we have a program to reintegrate girls. That program is to support them with soft skills.
But they will not leave the marriage.
Well, we cannot handle that issue. That is a legal issue. And that is the issue that requires careful consideration, because you have married someone, you have paid her dowry, an NGO cannot go and end marriage. That's not what we are after. We are after making the society better. We are after transforming lives for a better living. We are after empowering women and men to make changes in their environment. And we make a special emphasis on women because we believe they are more of the vulnerable people in the community. So those ones, we have a program where we train these women on skill acquisition so that they can be able to earn a living tomorrow. We have a program where we train girls on menstrual hygiene and also distribute menstrual pads, because we believe that some of these girls don't go to school because of lack of menstrual pads and also inadequate sanitary facilities in the school. So if you are able to train them about the importance of menstrual hygiene, you are addressing a lot of issues. Number one, when a girl is in a menstrual cycle, there is stigma. So you have to train them on that. She will not go to school, she will miss classroom because she doesn't have pads. And she will miss her exam. And those are the root cause of out-of-school children as well. So it's very important.
So poverty become a recurring.
It's become a recurring cycle. So it's very important. Then also, we have different projects. We also have a project now where we are training teachers, because we want to ensure that this STEM education is taken right down to the grassroots. So just last week, we trained 109 teachers on modern teaching techniques and digital literacy. And the essence is for these teachers to go and impact knowledge on the students themselves. And we have a monitoring and evaluation plan, how we are going to monitor most of these teachers' performance over a period of time. And then at the end of 3, 4, 5 years, we are going to measure the impact to see what has actually changed or transformed the life of teachers or in the life of students. Then, the most important part of our training today is also about digital, apart from digital training literacy, is about vocational training centers. We are currently building a skill acquisition center. But while building it, we are still training women. We are still training young girls on skill acquisition so that they can be able to earn a living. We organize seminars.
I'd just like to, before we end the program, say this, that lots of your training is because of women. The men also need opportunities.
I train men as well. It's not only women. Out of the 109 teachers we train, about 40% of them are men.
But 60% are women.
Yeah, if we have a program where we train young leaders so that they can be responsible citizens tomorrow. So the children in primary school we train, if we are training 100 students on citizenship education, we make sure that at least 60% of that 100 are females and 40% are males. But we still open opportunity.
Why should it be 50?
Well, we have to promote gender equality in the society today.
I'm asking now,
Yes.
is there hope for Nigeria as a country?
There's hope. The future is bright.
The future is bright. You believe in that, sir?
I believe there's hope for our youth because we have hardworking youth, right? So if you say there's no hope, then you are lying. There is hope because the future is bright. You know, you have to take your destiny into your hand. You have to keep, updating yourself. You have to educate yourself. You have to keep developing yourself, which is very important. And then when it comes to our leaders, we have to start grooming leaders from the bottom line now, so that by the time they grow up, they will be responsible citizens that will make change. We need people who will be element of change. Now, when you see somebody that is not doing the right thing, you should be able to tell him off. When you are in a taxi and he's breaking traffic light, not because you are in a hurry, you should be able to tell a taxi, no, you have to stop until you have the green, go ahead. So the responsible citizenship has to be all around. It's not only you don't keep blaming government, whereas a local taxi driver today will go and break traffic and it will cause accident and loss of life. We also have to bring this out of school children back to classroom, which is very, very important. By bringing them back to classroom, normally they say an idle man is the devil workshop. When they are idle,
I would have asked you.
and then lastly, security is very crucial, very important and health.
Not bringing them back. You don't want to come back to suicide.
I have one question. You spoke about early marriage.
Yes.
For some of us, at what age do you think our mothers are to marry out their daughters? Which you call early marriage. Yes, now, how many people watching right now that they don't understand the early age or early marriage, and they don't know the late age. So I would like to know on behalf of me and all the people
I'm not more into marital counseling, but all you know that mostly is that early girl marriage, when you marry a girl that is not yet matured, from the age 13, 14, 15, she is not yet an adult.
So you've heard it now.
So that is an early girl child marriage. The girl is not matured physically, psychologically to even think for herself. So a girl has to be matured. A girl must be mature to have a maturity to be able to think for herself before. So the parents themselves that are watching now, perhaps they should not marry off their children at an early age. Let their children go to classroom so that by the time they are well established, they'll be able to think of that marriage.
Thank you so much, Captain. We really had a wonderful time with you this morning. We wish you all the best and with your advocacy, and we wish that Nigerians will keep having opportunities to prosper even in the country.
Thank you very much, and we wish all Nigerians a happy democracy, and we hope for the best.
Thank you so much. Sir. All right, so let's go for a short break, and when we're back, we'll continue the program. Please stay with us.